7 walking mistakes that are destroying your health after 50. A doctor explains every single day. Countless individuals step into clinical offices, genuinely convinced they are meticulously adhering to all the widely accepted tenets of a healthy lifestyle, especially when it comes to physical activity. They consistently engage in walking, often for 30 minutes or even longer, yet, paradoxically, they present with a spectrum of debilitating symptoms. Persistent knee pain that restricts mobility, pervasive chronic fatigue that saps their vitality, inexplicable numbness in their legs, and an overwhelming, demoralizing sense that their physical condition is steadily deteriorating rather than improving. The initial, fundamental question I pose to each of these patients remains unfailingly the same. How precisely are you executing your walks? This seemingly innocuous inquiry often unveils the crux of the problem, leading to a profound realization that the issue is almost never an insufficient amount of walking. Instead, the overwhelming majority of cases reveal a deeper, more insidious problem. People are walking incorrectly. And this incorrect walking is far more detrimental than mere wasted effort. It actively functions as a corrosive force, systematically destroying the delicate structures of your joints, fundamentally wrecking your natural posture, placing an undue and dangerous strain on your cardiovascular system, and relentlessly driving systemic chronic inflammation through every tissue in your body. Across my 15 years of medical practice, this exact clinical picture of well-intentioned but misguided effort leading to injury and decline has presented itself with an alarming and consistent frequency. What you are about to discover, the foundational principles and critical mistakes, is information that, regrettably, you will likely never receive during your routine medical appointments, primarily because the prevailing healthcare system, by its very design, often profits more significantly when patients remain in a state of illness requiring ongoing treatment, rather than achieving a state of robust, self-sustained wellness through preventative measures. To truly understand the profound impact of walking, especially as we age, we must first establish its foundational importance. Beyond being merely a pleasant recreational stroll, walking after the age of 50 transcends leisure to become a genuine, indispensable medical necessity. This urgency arises because, upon reaching this significant life milestone, the human body initiates an intricate and interconnected cascade of physiological changes. These transformations are not random. They are remarkably predictable, meticulously measurable, and critically, they are changes that you simply cannot afford to overlook or ignore without significant health consequences. The first and most pervasive of these transformations is the gradual yet relentless disappearance of muscle mass, a process scientifically termed sarcopenia. Sarcopenia denotes the age-related progressive loss of muscle tissue, both in terms of quantity and quality. After the age of 50, individuals typically experience a loss of approximately 1 to 2% of their total muscle mass every single year. While this might appear statistically manageable on paper, projecting this loss over a decade reveals a staggering deficit of 15 to 20% of your entire muscle structure. It is crucial to recognize that muscle is far more than just a component of strength. Its functions are multifaceted and vital for overall health. Muscle actively stabilizes your joints, providing essential support and reducing undue stress. Muscle plays a pivotal role in regulating your blood sugar levels, efficiently managing the amount of glucose circulating in your bloodstream, and thereby mitigating the risk of metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes. Muscle is the primary architect of your posture, holding your body upright against gravity, and muscle is indispensable for maintaining balance, preventing falls, and ensuring stable ambulation. Consequently, if you lose a significant enough amount of this critical tissue, the entire downstream system of your body begins to falter and fall apart. impacting everything from mobility to metabolic health. The second profound change observed with aging is the progressive stiffening of your joints. Cartilage, the remarkably smooth, resilient cushioning tissue that caps the ends of your bones within a joint, possesses a unique and often misunderstood characteristic. It has no direct blood supply of its own. Consequently, cartilage derives its vital nutrition, its very sustenance, almost exclusively through the dynamic process of movement. When you place a load on a joint and engage it through movement, the synovial fluid, the viscous, lubricating fluid contained within the joint capsule, is cyclically pushed into and squeezed out of the cartilage. This pumping action effectively delivers the essential nutrients it requires to remain healthy, elastic, and functional. Without this regular, intermittent movement, cartilage quite literally begins to starve. It thins out, loses its inherent elasticity, and eventually initiates a process of structural breakdown. This progressive breakdown is precisely what medical professionals refer to as osteoarthritis, a condition often mistakenly believed to be an inevitable consequence of aging. However, it is unequivocally not inevitable, and indeed, you can drastically accelerate its onset and severity through the adoption and perpetuation of incorrect, detrimental habits, particularly in how you move. The third significant physiological shift after 50 is a noticeable deceleration of your metabolism. Your basal metabolic rate, BMR, which represents the fundamental number of calories your body passively burns simply to sustain its vital functions at rest, drops by approximately 2 to 3% every 10 years beyond the age of 50. This seemingly minor shift has a profound practical implication. The identical lifestyle choices, dietary habits, and activity levels that effortlessly maintained your weight stability at 30 years old will almost certainly result in noticeable weight gain by the age of 55. This weight gain occurs not because you have consciously altered your habits, but rather because your body itself has undergone intrinsic metabolic changes, making it less efficient at burning calories. The fourth crucial change is a tangible reduction in circulatory efficiency. The walls of your blood vessels, which are normally supple and elastic, gradually lose this crucial characteristic, becoming stiffer and less responsive. Simultaneously, your heart, while still functional, begins to pump blood with a subtly diminished power output. This cumulative effect leads to a deterioration in peripheral circulation, which specifically refers to blood flow to the extremities, your legs, feet, and the intricate network of small blood vessels throughout your body. This decline in peripheral blood flow is the precise physiological explanation for why such a large number of individuals over the age of 50 begin to notice symptoms such as perpetually cold feet, disruptive nighttime leg cramps, and that heavy, tired, often aching sensation in their lower legs by the end of an ordinary day. Here lies the truly critical insight. Regular, correct walking intervenes positively and simultaneously impacts all four of these vital physiological systems. It directly activates and strengthens muscle tissue, combating sarcopenia. Through its dynamic movement, it actively triggers and enhances cartilage nutrition by facilitating the circulation of synovial fluid, thereby slowing or preventing joint degeneration. It provides a meaningful acceleration to your metabolism, helping to counteract the age-related decline in BMR, and crucially, it significantly improves overall circulation, including critical peripheral blood flow, mitigating the symptoms of vascular inefficiency. Multiple rigorous scientific studies and comprehensive meta-analyses unequivocally confirm that individuals who consistently engage in regular walking demonstrate significantly lower rates of cardiovascular disease, a reduced incidence of type 2 diabetes, a condition characterized by the body's impaired ability to properly manage blood sugar, a lower prevalence of osteoporosis, the thinning and weakening of bones, and a mitigated risk of cognitive decline, preserving mental acuity. However, and this is the vital caveat that almost nobody explicitly communicates, all of these profound and far-reaching health benefits are contingent upon one fundamental condition: you must walk correctly. When you walk the wrong way, you do not simply experience a diminished benefit, rather, you inadvertently create an entirely new set of problems, adding them to any pre-existing health challenges you may already face. Let us now systematically dissect every major walking mistake that I consistently observe in my practice, beginning with mistake number 1. You start your walk too fast. This particular error is arguably the single most common and pervasive mistake I encounter across every conceivable age group and every level of physical fitness. Individuals step outside, brimming with good intentions, and immediately launch into their full intended pace. This approach seems inherently logical on the surface. Why, one might reason, would anyone waste precious time on a warm-up when they could simply get moving and maximize their exercise duration? However, it is imperative to understand that your body operates fundamentally differently from a mechanical device like a car. You cannot merely turn a key and expect every intricate physiological system to immediately function at its full optimal capacity. Your body demands a gradual transition period to shift seamlessly from a state of rest to a state of sustained movement, and attempting to bypass this crucial transition cannot be done without incurring tangible and often detrimental consequences. Here is a detailed breakdown of what physiologically transpires within your body when you initiate your walk too rapidly. Firstly, your muscles are effectively cold. The colder your muscle fibers are, the less inherent elasticity they possess. This reduced elasticity directly translates into a significantly higher risk of sustaining micro tears. These are minute, microscopic rips within the muscle tissue itself. Individually, such tears may not register as immediate acute symptoms, but their cumulative effect over time, particularly with repeated insults, can inexorably lead to the development of chronic pain syndromes, persistent stiffness, and compromised muscular function. Secondly, your joints are not yet adequately lubricated. The synovial fluid, that vital protective and nourishing liquid encased within your joint capsules, tends to pool in specific areas of the joint cavity during periods of rest. For this fluid to evenly spread across the entire joint surface, forming a protective, friction-reducing film between the delicate cartilage surfaces, it absolutely requires a few minutes of slow, gradual, and gentle movement. If you start your walk at a fast pace, your cartilage is effectively running dry, subjecting it to unnecessary friction and wear. Thirdly, your cardiovascular system has not had sufficient time to adapt to the sudden demand. The heart, a remarkable but sensitive organ, does not respond favorably to abrupt, intense demands. When exercise intensity escalates too rapidly, your heart rate can spike excessively, and your blood pressure can jump more sharply and dramatically than is physiologically necessary or healthy. This effect is particularly pronounced after the age of 50, when the walls of your blood vessels may already possess diminished elasticity. Such a sudden, sharp spike places undue and potentially dangerous stress on these already compromised vessel walls. The practical solution to this widespread mistake requires absolutely zero additional time investment on your part. Simply dedicate the first 3 to 5 minutes of every single walk to moving slowly, deliberately slowly, almost leisurely, slowly. This measured, gentle pace constitutes your essential warm-up. This warm-up is not an exclusive domain for elite athletes. It is an indispensable protocol for every individual who aspires to walk without experiencing pain, discomfort, or injury. After these initial 5 minutes of slow walking, your joints will be sufficiently lubricated, your muscles will be warmed and more pliable, and your heart will have gracefully settled into a sustainable working rhythm, preparing your body optimally to gradually pick up the pace without undue strain. Mistake number 2 involves adopting the wrong posture while walking. Take a moment to observe people walking in any public space, and you will quickly notice a prevalent and concerning pattern. Most individuals are hunched forward, their heads jutting out conspicuously in front of their bodies, their shoulders rounded downward and forward, and their eyes habitually aimed at the ground merely a few feet ahead of them. This is not merely an aesthetically unappealing stance. It represents a profound biomechanical catastrophe for your delicate spinal column and severely compromises the efficiency of your respiratory system. Allow me to elaborate on the intricate mechanics at play. The average adult human head weighs approximately 11 pounds. When this weight is optimally positioned directly over the spinal column in a neutral alignment, the neck muscles are designed to efficiently bear precisely that load. However, when the head shifts forward by even a mere 1 to 1.5 inches, the load exerted upon the cervical spine, the neck portion of your backbone, escalates by roughly 3 times its normal amount. Should the forward shift increase to 2 inches, the load on your neck muscles can multiply by 4 to 5 times. This means that instead of comfortably supporting 11 pounds, your neck and upper back muscles are now continuously straining to hold a substantial 45 to 55 pounds. Sustaining such an unnatural posture for 20 or 30 minutes during a walk inevitably generates chronic, debilitating muscle tension in the neck, shoulders, and the base of the skull. This is the precise physiological reason why so many people return home from a walk complaining of a persistent neck ache. It is not attributable to a draft, nor is it an unavoidable consequence of old age. The true culprit is poor posture. The second major impact of incorrect posture lands squarely on your respiratory system. When your chest cavity is compressed and your shoulders are rolled forward, your diaphragm, the primary dome-shaped breathing muscle situated below your lungs, cannot fully descend to facilitate deep inhalation. Consequently, your lungs cannot fully expand to their maximum capacity. This forces you to breathe shallowly, relying primarily on only the top portion of your chest. The direct result is that your body receives significantly less oxygen than it optimally requires. A deficit of oxygen means less energy is available for your working muscles and your cognitive processes in your brain. This explains why you might walk for 30 minutes, but feel as though you have walked for an hour. Experiencing disproportionate fatigue. People often attribute this premature exhaustion to age or a perceived lack of fitness, but the real correctable culprit is posture. There is also a third, often overlooked consequence that almost nobody mentions. Chronic bad walking posture fundamentally disrupts the entire biomechanical chain of your body. With the head jutting forward, the lower back instinctively compensates by developing an exaggerated arch, hyperlordosis, which in turn causes the pelvis to tilt unnaturally. This chain reaction then forces the knees to operate at incorrect angles, dramatically increasing the load and stress on your knee and hip joints. This increased joint stress is not a function of your age. It is the direct result of one specific, entirely correctable mechanical error. The effective solution involves visualizing a thin thread delicately attached to the very crown of your head, gently pulling you upward. This mental image does not imply straining or forcing yourself into an unnaturally rigid, tall position. It simply encourages your spine to naturally decompress, lengthen, and straighten. Your shoulders should be relaxed, gently drawn slightly back, not in a rigid military-style brace, but rather settling into their natural, anatomically correct position. Your eyes should be directed forward, scanning the horizon, not fixated on the pavement immediately beneath your feet. Your chin should remain parallel to the ground, and your chest should feel open and expansive. In this optimized posture, your lungs can operate at their full designed capacity. Your neck carries no unnecessary excess load, and your spine effectively distributes weight in the precise, balanced manner it was biomechanically designed to do, minimizing stress and maximizing efficiency. Mistake number 3 concerns the wrong shoes, a topic that, paradoxically, receives the least amount of attention despite its immense importance. Footwear is often the last consideration for individuals when they are choosing a walking route or deciding on the duration of their walk. This oversight constitutes a grave error because, for the health and longevity of your joints, there is no single factor more critical than what is positioned between your foot and the ground. 2 specific physiological changes occur with age that render footwear critically important for walkers over 50. Firstly, the natural fat pads located on the soles of your feet, which serve as your body's innate shock absorbers, gradually thin out and diminish over time. These resilient pads once effectively soften the impact of your heel striking the ground with every single step. Now, with that natural cushioning significantly compromised, your shoes must adequately pick up the slack and provide the necessary shock absorption. If they fail to do so, every jarring ground impact transmits its force directly up the kinetic chain, through your ankle, into your knee, then your hip, and ultimately into your lower back, leading to cumulative micro-trauma and accelerated joint degeneration. Secondly, the intrinsic muscles and supporting ligaments of the foot itself tend to weaken with age. This weakening can lead to a gradual collapse of the arch of the foot, a condition medically termed acquired flat foot. An acquired flat foot dramatically alters the entire load angle on the knee joint, shifts the axis of the hip joint out of optimal alignment, and significantly increases stress on the spinal column. Conversely, well-designed walking shoes equipped with proper arch support can meaningfully slow down this degenerative process, preserving foot and joint integrity. So, what specific features should you seek in an ideal walking shoe? First, paramount is adequate cushioning, strategically placed in both the heel and the forefoot regions. The sole must possess sufficient softness to effectively absorb impact forces, yet it should not be so excessively soft that your foot sinks in without adequate supportive stability. Second, effective arch support is essential. This does not necessarily imply a rigid, unyielding insole. Rather, it means the inner shape and contour of the sole should harmoniously follow the natural anatomy of your foot, preventing the arch from collapsing inward during the gait cycle. Third, a flexible sole in the front portion of the shoe is indispensable. When you walk, your foot naturally needs to bend at the ball, the wide anterior part of the foot. If the entire sole of the shoe is rigidly inflexible, it severely disrupts the natural heel-to-toe rolling motion of your gait and consequently overloads the calf muscles and the Achilles tendon, the large, powerful tendon located at the back of your ankle, potentially leading to pain and injury. One final yet critical point regarding shoes pertains to their wear. Many individuals habitually walk in sneakers or athletic shoes they purchased 2 or even 3 years ago, believing them to be perfectly serviceable. While the external appearance of the shoe may indeed look perfectly fine, the crucial cushioning materials nestled within the midsole, the vital layer situated between the outer rubber sole and the inner lining, lose their essential shock-absorbing properties long before any visible signs of wear become apparent on the exterior. If you engage in regular walking, it is an absolute imperative to replace your dedicated walking shoes approximately once a year. This is not a mere commercial recommendation designed to boost sales. It is a fundamental strategy for the proactive prevention of osteoarthritis and the preservation of your joint health. Mistake number 4 is a prevalent pattern of walking rarely, but for excessively long distances when you do. This scenario is extremely common in today's busy world. Individuals find themselves consumed by responsibilities throughout the work week, leaving them with limited time for exercise. Consequently, they compensate by taking one singular, lengthy walk on the weekend, often extending for an hour or even 2. They return home feeling physically exhausted but morally virtuous, convinced that this single long outing fulfills their entire weekly fitness requirement. From a physiological standpoint, however, this approach is fundamentally flawed and inefficient. Your body does not respond optimally to isolated, infrequent bursts of intense activity. Instead, it thrives and adapts in response to repeated, consistent, and regular physiological signals. Every time you engage in a walk, your body receives a clear, reinforcing message. Physical activity is the norm. In systematic response to this consistent message, your heart gradually becomes more efficient at pumping blood. Your blood vessels adapt to handle increased demands. Your muscles progressively strengthen, and your metabolism maintains a more active and robust state. This remarkable process is known as training adaptation, and it is a biological phenomenon that exclusively occurs with the consistent delivery of repeated, regular signals to the body. A single, lengthy walk once a week, unfortunately, provides too weak and infrequent a signal for meaningful adaptation to occur. Consequently, the physiological benefits remain minimal. Even worse, a single, strenuous, long walk undertaken after several days of complete physical rest constitutes a significant stress event for unprepared and deconditioned muscles. These muscles are cold, unadapted to the sudden demands, and predictably, on the following day, they will likely be sore and painful. This discomfort frequently leads individuals to draw the erroneous conclusion that walking is simply not for me. My joints are inherently weak. This is, however, the wrong conclusion. In many such cases, the joints themselves are likely fundamentally healthy and capable. The true problem lies in the loading pattern being incorrect and inconsistent. Evidence-based medicine is unequivocally clear on this matter. 20 to 30 minutes of walking on most days of the week represents the minimum effective dose for optimizing your cardiovascular system and reaping its myriad benefits. This is the precise regimen that demonstrably reduces your risk of experiencing a heart attack, suffering a stroke, and developing type 2 diabetes. The critical factor is not one exhaustive Sunday walk, but rather 5 to 6 shorter, consistent walks spread throughout the week. Your body adapts intrinsically to what repeats. It adapts only to what repeats. If your current walking habit involves just once a week, initiate your new regimen by aiming for 3 times a week, not necessarily for the full 20 minutes initially. Begin with a manageable 10 minutes per session. After 2 weeks of consistently maintaining this frequency, gradually add 5 more minutes to each walk. This approach of gradual progression is not a sign of weakness. It is a meticulously crafted and sustainable strategy for long-term health and adherence. Mistake number 5 is the common habit of keeping your arms motionless while you walk. Most people, when walking, either hold their arms stiffly pinned to their sides, allow them to hang limply, or casually shove them into their pockets. While this might initially feel comfortable or unobtrusive, in reality, it strips away a significant portion of walking's inherent benefits and fundamentally disrupts natural movement mechanics. Here is a detailed explanation of why this seemingly minor detail matters so profoundly. Walking is not merely a leg-centric activity. It is, at its core, a whole-body cross-pattern movement. Observe a natural walker. When your left leg steps forward, your right arm intuitively swings forward in opposition, and vice versa. This intricate contralateral pattern, known as cross-coordination, is deeply hardwired into your central nervous system, reflecting an evolutionarily optimized gait. Its primary function is to symmetrically distribute the load across your spine and significantly reduce the sideways twisting forces exerted on your trunk with every step you take. When your arms remain motionless, your spine is forced to compensate for this deliberate asymmetry by over-rotating, particularly in the lower back region. For individuals who already contend with existing lower back issues, this compensatory over-rotation can be a direct trigger for pain, exacerbating their discomfort. A second crucial point is that proper arm swing actively recruits and engages the muscles of the shoulders, chest, and upper back. This means that during a walk executed with appropriate arm movement, a significantly greater total muscle mass is active compared to a walk where the arms remain static. More active muscle tissue directly translates to a higher caloric expenditure, an improvement in systemic circulation, and a more active metabolic rate. Consequently, the exact same distance walked when performed with proper rhythmic arm swing delivers a demonstrably stronger and more comprehensive physiological effect on your body. The third compelling reason for arm movement is its role in setting rhythm and enhancing coordination. This becomes particularly vital after the age of 50, when natural coordination and balance capabilities can gradually begin to decline. A steady, rhythmic arm swing helps to maintain a consistent stride length and pace, acting as a natural counterbalance and significantly reducing the risk of losing balance and potentially falling. So, how does one execute this correctly? Simply bend your elbows slightly, aiming for an approximate 90-degree angle. Then, allow your arms to swing naturally forward and backward in a comfortable rhythm, always in opposition to your leg movement. You do not need to mimic the exaggerated, powerful pumping action characteristic of competitive race walkers. The objective is merely to stop pinning your arms rigidly to your body. After just a few walks incorporating this conscious arm movement, you will distinctly feel the difference. Walking will become noticeably easier, more fluid, and more rhythmic almost immediately, leading to a more efficient and enjoyable experience. Mistake number 6, a relatively modern phenomenon, is walking with your phone continuously in your hand. 20 years ago, this specific mistake simply did not exist. Today, however, it has become one of the most ubiquitous and visually striking behaviors I observe. People walk, their gazes glued to a small screen, engrossed in reading messages, scrolling through social media feeds, or consuming other digital content, genuinely believing they are simultaneously tending to their health. This belief, unfortunately, is profoundly misguided. Let's begin, once again, with the issue of posture. When you are looking at a phone held in front of you, or even worse, angled downward towards your waist, your head inevitably tilts downward at a severe angle. We have already meticulously established the detrimental impact this posture has on your cervical spine. The load on your neck muscles dramatically increases by 3 to 5 times. Your shoulders round significantly forward, your chest becomes compressed, and your breathing consequently becomes shallow. Essentially, every negative consequence we previously discussed regarding poor posture is now actively reinforced and intensified, often to a greater degree, because with a phone in hand, your head is typically angled even lower than it would be with ordinary, unconscious slouching. Now let's consider the critical aspect of safety. After the age of 50, the vestibular system, which is the intricate balance and orientation system located within your inner ear, begins to operate with slightly less precision and efficiency. Simultaneously, proprioception, your body's intrinsic sense of its own position and movement in space, also gradually begins to fade. These are normal, albeit gradual, processes of aging. The crucial implication of these changes is that your brain increasingly relies on visual input to maintain stable balance while walking. When your eyes are fixated on a screen instead of actively scanning the path ahead, your brain is systematically deprived of its most critical and reliable source of spatial information. You become acutely unaware of uneven pavement surfaces, deceptive curbs, unexpected steps, dangerously wet or slippery patches, and sudden drops in elevation. The risk of sustaining a fall, therefore, rises substantially and perilously. A fall after the age of 50 is rarely just a minor incident where you simply get up, brush yourself off, and continue on your way. It frequently results in serious injuries such as a fractured wrist, multiple fractured ribs, or, most alarmingly, a hip fracture. A hip fracture in someone over 60 years old typically necessitates extended periods of immobilization, complex surgical intervention, and a lengthy, arduous rehabilitation process, often leading to a significant loss of independence and a decline in overall quality of life. The prevention strategy for this particular mistake is as straightforward as it gets. Simply place your phone securely in your pocket for the entirety of your walk. And to add one final compelling argument, walking is not solely a physical exercise. It is also a powerful neurological one. When you walk, while consciously paying attention to the road ahead, mindfully observing the sensations within your body, regulating your breathing, and engaging with your surroundings, you are actively training and enhancing your attention span, improving your coordination, and sharpening your spatial awareness. This represents a genuine, scientifically documented benefit for your brain, contributing to cognitive health and neuroplasticity. However, when your focus is entirely absorbed by your phone screen, that invaluable cognitive benefit completely vanishes. Your legs may be moving, but your brain is mentally occupied elsewhere, missing a crucial opportunity for simultaneous mental and physical exercise. The simple and profound advice is to let a walk truly be a walk, a holistic experience for both body and mind. Mistake number 7, and perhaps the most overlooked, is ignoring recovery after walking. This topic is seldom discussed, neither in a clinical setting nor in a gym environment. The general, pervasive assumption is that walking, being such a relatively light and low-impact activity, requires no specific recovery protocol whatsoever. This assumption, I must emphasize, is fundamentally incorrect and detrimental. Let's start with the absolute necessity of water. Muscle tissue itself is composed of 70 to 75% water. Consequently, every single biochemical process vital for muscle function, from the intricate mechanics of contraction and relaxation to the essential processes of repair and rebuilding after exercise, occurs within an aqueous, water-rich environment. Even mild dehydration, defined as a mere 1 to 2% reduction in your body's total fluid stores, measurably diminishes muscle elasticity, significantly slows down the crucial recovery process, and substantially increases the risk of experiencing painful muscle cramping. Therefore, after completing your walk, it is a non-negotiable physiological imperative to drink a full glass of water. This is not anecdotal advice or a suggestion from a sports drink advertisement. It is a fundamental principle of basic human physiology. Now, let's address the importance of stretching. During the act of walking, your muscles predominantly work in a shortening, concentric mode. They contract repeatedly over and over again. Without engaging in appropriate stretching afterward, these muscles tend to remain in a slightly shortened state even after you cease activity. Over time, this cumulative effect leads to muscles becoming progressively tight, rigid, and less pliable. This persistent shortening directly decreases the overall range of motion in your joints, and a chronic, uncomfortable feeling of stiffness gradually develops. This phenomenon is most acutely pronounced in the calf muscles, the hamstrings at the back of the thighs, and the muscles of the lower back. A simple, yet incredibly effective solution is to dedicate just 5 minutes to gentle stretching immediately following every walk. This practice entirely prevents the accumulation of muscle tightness and preserves joint flexibility. Finally, let's consider the critical role of rest days. Many individuals, driven by an admirable but misguided zeal, reason that if walking is beneficial, then more walking must logically be even better. This, however, is not how the intricate process of physiological adaptation works. Your body does not adapt and grow stronger during the period of actual exercise. Rather, it adapts and rebuilds during the crucial recovery phase that follows. This is the precise time when muscle fibers repair and reinforce themselves, when joints remodel and strengthen in response to the loads they have experienced, and when the cardiovascular system restructures itself to more efficiently handle future demands. If you never provide your body with adequate recovery time, the essential process of adaptation simply cannot occur, leaving you susceptible to overtraining, injury, and burnout. Incorporating 1 to 2 dedicated rest days per week is not a sign of laziness. It is, in fact, the physiologically correct and optimal protocol for sustainable progress. It is vital to conceive of your walk not as an isolated physical exercise, but as an integral component within a larger interconnected system. This system comprises movement, the walk itself, proper hydration, water, flexibility training, stretching, and adequate recuperation, rest. It is only as a complete and harmoniously functioning system that these elements collectively produce durable, enduring, and profound long-term results for your overall health. Now, an extremely important clinical observation that critically ties all 7 of these mistakes and their ramifications together. Every single one of these 7 walking mistakes carries different levels of risk, with their potential for damage escalating dramatically depending on your age. the cumulative damage inflicted by issues such as consistently poor posture, continuing to walk in worn out or inappropriate shoes, and habitually neglecting essential recovery time is, in fact, 2 to 3 times more severe and impactful after the age of 50 than it would be at 30. This heightened vulnerability stems directly from the measurable and progressive decrease in the inherent resilience and regenerative capacity of your joints, the elasticity of your blood vessels, and the restorative capabilities of your muscles as you age. The very same mistake that your younger body at 30 years old might have readily forgiven, recovering without any significant or lasting consequences, will almost certainly generate real, often debilitating symptoms and accelerate degenerative processes when you reach 55. Your body's capacity for self-repair and adaptation diminishes with time, making conscious, correct habits all the more paramount. This is a crucial understanding for anyone serious about preserving their health and vitality into later life. In conclusion, and to provide a clear, actionable, and practical framework, here is precisely what you should commit to doing immediately after internalizing this information. First, unconditionally adopt the slow start rule. Dedicate the initial 3 to 5 minutes of every single walk to a slow, gentle pace only, without any exceptions. This costs you absolutely zero additional time. You are simply commencing your activity with a deliberate, body-friendly transition. Second, immediately check your posture. Stand tall, consciously straighten your spine. Visualize that thread gently pulling your head upward. Allow your shoulders to relax and ease them subtly back into their natural alignment. Hold this optimal position for a moment. Memorize that feeling of alignment and openness and consciously reproduce it every single time you embark on a walk. Third, pick up your current walking shoes and meticulously inspect their soles. If they exhibit uneven wear patterns, or if you have been consistently walking in them for more than a year, it is unequivocally time to replace them. Investing in appropriate supportive footwear is one of the simplest yet highest return investments you can possibly make in the long-term health of your joints, preventing future pain and expensive medical interventions. Fourth, decisively cease the habit of taking only one long walk per week. Instead, aim for 20 to 30 minutes of walking 5 to 6 days a week. This is the scientifically validated target for optimal cardiovascular and overall health benefits. If this frequency seems overwhelming initially, start with 3 days a week and gradually add 1 additional day every 2 weeks. Remember, gradual progress is inherently sustainable progress. Fifth, consciously allow your arms to move freely. Bend your elbows comfortably, relax your shoulders, and permit your arms to swing naturally and rhythmically in opposition to your leg movement. Crucially, take them out of your pockets and engage them. Sixth, your phone goes into your pocket for the entire duration of your walk, no exceptions. If you desire audio content like music or a podcast, utilize earbuds, but keep the screen entirely out of your hands and your visual field, allowing your full attention to be on your body and surroundings. Seventh, after the completion of every single walk, ensure you drink a glass of water to rehydrate and dedicate 5 minutes to gentle stretching, just 5 minutes. That brief commitment is what stands between you and the progressive accumulation of chronic muscle stiffness and reduced flexibility. Walking, when performed correctly and thoughtfully, stands as one of the most accessible, safest, and profoundly effective tools available for diligently maintaining and significantly enhancing your health and vitality after the age of 50. You do not need an expensive gym membership. You do not require any specialized or costly equipment. You do not even need any elaborate special preparation. What you genuinely need are the right informed habits and a conscious, mindful approach to how you move. These seemingly small, incremental changes in the way you walk will, without a doubt, produce real, measurable, and enduring long-term results for the health of your heart, the integrity of your joints, the sharpness of your brain, and your overall sense of well-being and vitality. It is a regrettable reality that nobody in a conventional clinic setting is likely to comprehensively walk you through these critical critical details and adjustments simply because that system is primarily geared towards treating existing conditions, not proactively preventing them. This channel, therefore, exists for precisely that vital purpose: to empower you with preventative knowledge and actionable strategies.